Okay, everybody, welcome to the Impact Group. We are so excited to have you here today. We're talking about resilience. We're talking about resilience. Specifically, we're talking about how to cultivate resilience, enhance strength, and manage stress and lead with confidence. Wow, all in 30 minutes. We'll see what we can do here. Probably going to talk about things to just get the tip of the iceberg, but man, are we going to get into some things about resilience. So, resilience, let's talk about that. Everybody right now is talking about resilience, right? We need to be resilient. Our staff needs to be resilient. We need to be resilient. What is resilience? I mean, honestly, if you break down resilience, what is it? And if you looked at the title of this section, resilience is stress plus recovery equals resilience. And this is interesting. This is interesting because we've been taught to think that really it's stress. Like if you just, the more stress you pile on, the more resilient you'll be. I want you to think about maybe some of your favorite sports movies. Think of I'm old, but think of like a Rocky movie or in those sports movies, there's always like a montage where there's a training scene where the athlete, whether it's a gymnast and the woman is working really hard and morning to night, just at it, or Rocky, he's carrying rocks and he's pulling sleds through the snow and he's just pounding, 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 working hard, trying to build his muscle. What they don't show you in those films after the workout montage scene, which is so cool, what they don't show you is the athlete getting 8 hours of sleep a night, maybe even 10, of having very nutritious meals, of having some significant downtime, of the hours of stretching, of the hours. This is all the stuff that's not sexy that you don't see. But the reality is it resilience, it's almost like building muscle. If you're working out, if you're just lifting all the time, your muscle is going to rip and it's going to shred and it'll disintegrate. We build muscle by the trauma, the stress of the heavy weights, and then the recovery, nutrition, rest. That's how you build muscle. That's the way resilience is. But see, we seem to miss that. We seem to miss that aspect. So today I'm going to talk about the stress. Today, I'm going to talk about the recovery, and I'm going to talk a little bit about self-compassion as well in this. So let's talk about that. What is stress? Um, Stress is one of those things that's stated as though it's a bad thing. I always like kind of to frame it in this sense. People ask a lot of time, Tom, I wish I was a person of courage. I wish I had more courage. Well, if you're asking for courage, be careful what you're asking for because you're not going to be given courage. What you're given is something that scares you to your bones that you overcome, thereby being courageous. The stress, the thing, the obstacle was what allowed you to be courageous. Stress, conflict is a part of being human. It's so much a part of being human that it's just all around. As a matter of fact, almost kind of in a silly sci-fi weird way. I don't know if anybody remembers that movie Matrix years ago. The robots had created, the Matrix. They're using all the human beings as batteries, and they have these, millions of human beings that are plugged in. The overlords, the robot overlords or whatever, found out that if they created all of these human beings that had perfect lives, zero stress, in their minds, right? In the Matrix, all of those batches passed away. They couldn't live. They found that human beings require resistance. We require trials. We require stress. It is a deep part of being a human being. So, what I'm asking you to do here at the beginning is to reframe a little bit how you see stress. If you're alive, there's going to be stressors. And this is a good thing. It's the way the world works, right? So how do we view stress? One of the magic things we have as human beings is that we can decide what things mean. I'm going to talk a little bit about stoicism here. I'm going to talk about how to reframe things in your mind. Has anybody here ever gone to a nice restaurant? I'm going to give it a nice piece of beef. Is that piece of beef a sizzling steak or rotting and decaying animal flesh? Some of you on this call are like, ooh, that's disgusting. But I want you to think about this. Um, that was a piece of cow that is now deceased. It's on your plate and it's decaying. Gross. Okay. But you decide that that's a sizzling steak. I want you to wrap your mind around this. There's power in this. You are going to be served up metaphorical, rotting and decaying animal flesh a lot in your life. Again, it's called stress, it's called life. When something happens, you can decide what to do with it. You got to decide what you're going to do over this. There's a quote which I love by Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. With all this stress, with all this stuff, all you have power over is your mind. This is one of those things that is either terrifying or liberating. You decide. Sizzling steak, rotting, decaying animal flesh. You decide. You control nothing. Between here and the most distant, undiscovered planet, you control nothing but your thoughts and the actions derived by your thoughts. That's it. That's it. So, what are you going to do with that? That's a philosophic concept called the dichotomy of control, which is a fancy way to say what I just said. There are things you can control and things you can't control. And it turns out you can't control much. And this, again, this is liberating or terrifying. You decide, right? But what we actually ask you to do is some of these things that are the stressors, we're trying to build resilience, right? Actually, on a piece of paper, right in a line down the middle, on the left-hand side, what I can control. On the right-hand side, what I can't control. And it's really fascinating what you're able to control. Let's use an example of you're trying to build morale amongst your staff. Okay, that's as a leader, that's what I'm trying to do, build morale amongst this group of people. I have zero control over how they feel, over how they act, over what they do. Zero control, nothing. What can I control? And here's the thing about the dichotomy of control. People hear this and hear it as like a passive philosophy, like just, the universe take the wheel, whatever. That's not at all. What it means is with fierce intentionality, focus on what you can control and control that. And then you let it go. But so let's, once again, we're trying to build this staff with great morale. I can't control how they feel. What I have found is, speaking to them, I'm using just an example, this group that I'm meeting with, the staff, they made it clear to me that they'd rather have their meeting in the afternoon than the morning. Okay, I've changed the meetings to the afternoon. Every once in a while, they said that they love it when I bring in bagels. I'm bringing in bagels. One of the people that is there has a lot of anxiety and it kind of makes them nervous if I would call them out in the meeting to ask about something. So that person is asked that I notify them before the meeting so they're prepared. So that's ready to go. Anyway, so I've gone through all these things. Okay, well, I've got bagels. I've set this person up for success. I moved the meeting. That's all. I've really, honest to gosh, that's all I can think to do. Universe, take it. This is very hard for some people to hear this next piece. You have zero control over outcomes. Zero control. Zero control. All you can control are your thoughts and your actions. After that, it is what it is. And this is hard. This is hard. So the idea of resilience, are we aware of it? Another interesting aspect when we're talking about building resilience is a concept called the flow. And what the flow means is that things have a way of happening. They just occur. An example I'll often use when I'm presenting is if anybody's ever been in the airport and you're at the airport and you're sitting there reading your book, waiting for your flight, and you notice that the next gate, a flight has been canceled. And people lose their minds. They're screaming at the poor clerk. Everybody's losing their minds. They're going crazy. A resilient person would say, it is in the nature of flying or being on airlines that they get canceled. So why are you allowing yourself to be upset? I'm so angry. I'm in the middle of Cleveland on Saturday night at 6 o'clock and there's traffic everywhere. I'm so angry. It's in the nature of there to be traffic at 6 o'clock on Saturday night. Why are we worried? I'm so upset that the 3-year-old spilled milk. Ah, it's in the nature of 3-year-olds to spill milk. Why are we allowing ourselves to get upset? And this is what's interesting. Those are all obvious examples, right? But I was working with a woman one time. She was the head of a facility which cared for people with developmental disabilities. It's a tough job. It's a tough job. The people she supervises, it's a tough job, and she has people calling off every day. Every day she has call offs, okay? And so what they've done is they've dug into it. They're putting incentives in for people to come in. They're dealing with HR. They're doing everything that they can think of. It's not passive. What can they think of to make attendance better? They've done it. But she told me still, I'm going to be so upset today if we have call offs. It's going to drive me crazy if we have call offs today. Um, that's not helpful. Because you're going to have call offs. You're going to, so if you're setting yourselves up to be all the tank, it's just, and I mean, gosh, does anybody in this call work with people? I would imagine you all do. This is maybe a secret. People can be annoying. They can. We annoy each other. I annoy people. People annoy me. It's just a human being thing. It's in the nature. It's the flow. Are we allowing these things to upset us? Hallie's got, yeah, Hallie, I'm with you. Got a smile. It's true. So um, if you don't want to work with people, that's cool. Go be a computer programmer. You're going to make a lot of money. But if you want to work with people, a part of the flow is this is it. It's almost like I would love to be a scuba diver. I'm going to be the world-class scuba diver, but I don't want to get wet. I want to be a scuba diver, not get wet. If you want to work with people, this is a part of the game, right? So the flow. Also, an interesting aspect here too is with the flow is when things happen, a lot of the times we attribute value on the things that have happened. Again, we can't control things that are happening. I love, there's an old Zen story of a Chinese farmer, which I love. And the story, there's a Chinese farmer and he's his little farm in the middle of China, and his horse runs away. And all the villagers come by and say, "Oh, that's that's a shame. Well, what a misfortune." And he says, "Maybe." The next day, his horse comes back over the hill, and it's got 6 wild horses with it. So now he now has 7 horses, and the villagers all come to him and say, "What great fortune!" He says, "Maybe." The next day, his son is trying to tame one of the new wild horses. He falls off the horse and breaks his leg. All the villagers say, "What terrible misfortune." He says, "Maybe." The day after that, the army comes by. And back in that day, if the army came to take your son, it was a death sentence. So the army comes to take the sons of the villagers, and they don't take him. They don't take the guy's son because he has a broken leg. And all the villagers say, "Aren't you lucky?" Maybe. It's this thing in life. Things happen. I've always loved the Dalai Lama quote. Sometimes the best stroke of luck is not getting what you want. Wrap your mind around that. Sometimes your best stroke of luck is not getting what you want. It's funny the way the world works. So things happen. And just be careful of placing all this judgment on some of these things that happen. So if we're also trying to build fortitude, and I wish I had you guys for 3 hours. I'm just this like the very tip of the iceberg. But if we're attempting to fortify our brains and our for this stuff, because stress is going to happen. Again, I can't stress that's life. That's life. So stress is going to happen. What's interesting is what is your why as far as resilient? Why do you do what you do? It's very interesting. People with a strong why can endure almost any what. What do I mean? Life is stressful. Things are going to happen. With Shakespeare, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. You know these things. That's life. That's life. But if you have a strong enough why, we can endure these things. There's a fabulous book. Viktor Frankl wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning, or meaning like people's search for meaning. He was a um, psychologist Jewish psychologist in Germany in World War II, and he was put in concentration camps, and he observed firsthand the horrors of the concentration camps, and he made a student. He became a student of those that survived and those that didn't. And what he found was, there's variables, but one of the big ones was those that had a strong sense of purpose could endure the hardships, could endure because they had a strong sense of what they were about, what their purpose was. So when we talk about being resilient, do you have, if you have it, wonderful. If not, go sit in the woods for a couple of days and sort that out, man. What is your why? Um, Something I use to kind of remind me of that, and different people do different ways, but I'm very much of a history nerd. I love history, and I got to tell you, there are some days when that the lightning bolts are hitting, and it's uncomfortable, and things aren't going well, and this is going to sound like the nerdiest thing ever. I will turn around and say, Abe, what would you do? Or I've got another one of my personal heroes is Nelson Mandela. Oh my gosh, 27 years in prison, maintained his dignity, was a fabulous human being, came out without hatred, built a nation. These are people that have endured hardships which are almost difficult to fathom, yet they endured with dignity, with honesty, with humanity, right? I mean, Lincoln at one point is one of my very favorites. I mean, after the Battle of Fredericksburg, that the Union got massacred, things were just going terrible, and he said something to the effect that if there's a worse place than hell, I am in it. Just terrible pressure, terrible things. So I guess where I'm going with this is, where is your inspiration in when it comes to resilience? I look to historical figures because I love to read. I love history. Is it for you? Is it perhaps faith-based? Is there a scripture or a world faith or something that really provides that rock for you? Is it family? Is it there's somebody in your family that, man, you just they are the picture of resilience, of the ability to endure, of the ability to endure it with kindness and humility? Is it somebody on like a Mr. Rogers or a famous person? I don't know, but I guess where I'm going with this is, if you really want to build resilience, go out of your way to find folks, whether historical or even in uh, gosh, like fantasy writing and Lord of the Rings or whatever else. If there's a character, if there's a person that embodies that, study them. How do they do it? What do they do? How do they embody that dignity? To build resilience, it's a fascinating thing, but as a practice. So, um, these are the ways I'm really trying to give you guys some tools to just look at stress. Is it a sizzling steak? Is it a rotting, decaying animal flesh? You decide. But the reality is, we can't grow without stress. We can't grow without difficulties. I don't know about any of you. My biggest growth moments in my life, personally, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, hurt. I mean, I look back and I think, wow, that was awful. The other side of the awful was growth. But man, you got to go through the growth. And here's something that's irrational about the awful. I don't know if anybody's ever been in a circumstance where it's heavy. I mean, it's heavy. It's again, the lightning bolts are hitting. You're in the middle of it. The rain is pounding, and you're like, this, oh my gosh. We have an irrational sense as human beings sometimes that this is going to continue forever. And it's not rational, but man, I don't know if anybody in this call has ever been in. When you're in the middle of it, it feels like this storm it's perpetual. And it's not. Remember this simple phrase: this too shall pass. This too shall pass. As bad as it is, tomorrow is a new day. Next week is a new week. The sun will shine again. It's like a storm rolling through. But again, rationally, it's hard to see that when you're in the middle of it. So, trying to give you some tools here to equip you. Okay, let's talk for a second about recovery. Resilience, stress plus recovery equals resilience. How do you recover? How do you go out of your way to recover, to fill your cup again? You have to have strategies to do that. I was told years ago I'm very much of an introvert. And this actually was something that changed my life. Somebody said, as an introvert, you can be with people all day and be good at it and enjoy it. But at the end of the day, you have to refill, you have to refuel by being alone. That's an introvert. An extrovert can be alone and operate just fine, but they need to recharge their batteries by being around people. Introvert, extrovert. I thought that was a fascinating explanation. How do you, so in that's kind of a sense of your battery being charged, how do you charge your battery? Do you know? Is it a walk in the woods? Is it socializing with a friend? Is it reading a religious text? Is it meditation? Exercise? What recharges your battery? Because here's the thing. Remember what I said earlier about if you're just stress, you're going to disintegrate. And there we've been taught in American culture that the busier you are, the more more productive. And the idea that that have you ever heard anybody busy brag? I got 4 hours of sleep last night. Oh yeah, I got 3.5 hours. Really? Well, I only got 3 hours because we're bragging about that's not good, man. You're gonna die. It's crazy, but I've always liked this. You either make time for health, fitness, and recovery now, or you're going to make time for sickness, physical limitations, and exhaustion later. I'm going to say that again. You either make time for health, fitness, and recovery now, or you're going to make time for sickness, physical limitations, and exhaustion later. So, what I'm saying is, I don't have time right now to exercise. I don't have time right now to do that. I don't have time. Well, the universe you're going to pay, you're going to use the time. It just might be later in sickness. Look, my wife was in hospice for years, and she was also a clinical oncology social worker. My wife will tell you the amount of people that have come in for oncology services. The story is always the same. Not always, but the idea people will come in and say, I'm here for oncology. Just got cancer. I retired last month. I just retired. I mean, that's again and again. I just retired. It's almost like your body knows, like, okay, whew, we can relax for a second now. Now it's time to get sick. I mean, I'm telling you, you heard that again and again and again. Make time for those things now, or you're gonna pay later. And here's the fun part. It's kind of fun now. Exercise and doing the things you really enjoy that fill your heart. That's fun right now. But so where I'm going with this is if you want to build resilience, wonderful. You have to have a strategy for recovery. And we have leaders on this call. You wouldn't miss an important meeting with your finance committee, or you wouldn't miss an important meeting with somebody you serve. You would never miss that ever. But you all the time will push off something for yourself. Well, I don't have time for that right now. I see this a lot. I mean, who am I to say this? But for women, I see a lot of women are very, very hard on themselves. Not only do women have all the pressures of the professional world and everything they've got there, but now they're the primary people that are keeping the families moving and people doing everything they're supposed to. It's a lot of pressure. It is a lot of pressure the society puts on females. My goodness, we have to take the time. Stress plus recovery equals resilience. Okay, I'm going to finish with not one. I got a couple. I'm going to hit this one concept and then I'll wrap it up. Self-compassion. A part of this in recovery is give yourself a break. I mean, uh, it's a stressful world. Things are happening. I want you to think about this. Think about somebody you care about deeply. Someone it's a family member, a colleague, a friend, and it could even be a pet. Something you care about, a sentient being that you care about deeply. If that person or if that entity makes a big mistake, do you say, you stupid person? That's the dumbest thing that is. No one has ever done that before. What were you thinking? You're a terrible human being. You would never, ever say that to someone that you care deeply about. Never. No. How about this? You make a mistake. Has anybody here ever, I've done this before, has anybody here ever sent an email you weren't supposed to send to the wrong people? And as you send it, you're like, ah, your heart almost stops and you sweat immediately, like, oh no. When something like that happens, the recording kicks in. I am the stupidest person that ever lived. I can't believe I did that. No one has ever done anything so awful before. It's weird. It is weird the way we tear ourselves down. Some people don't, but I found most people do. So what I'm asking is, when you make a mistake in this stressful world, and you're going to make mistakes, it's life, it's growth, it's being a human being. Give yourself a break rather than being judgmental, rather than tearing yourself down, rather than being just hateful to yourself. These things happen. It was a genuine mistake. I'm going to learn from it and do better next time. A little bit of self-compassion goes a long, long way. Okay, what we talked about today is resilience. And I wish I had a magic pill. I wish I had an inspirational quote which would just build this. The reality is resilience is a lifetime of work. People that have fortitude, people that really can endure the storm have worked at it. It's like lifting weights. It's like being a runner. It's you endure things and you reflect on them and you get better. One of the things that resilient people do is they actually keep track of at the end of each day. You've got a journal. And in your journal, we're big advocates of appreciation. Not only are you writing what you're appreciative for, but just a couple lines. What went well today? What didn't go so well today? And then what am I going to do about it tomorrow? And here's the thing, if you see what's not going well day after day after day, fix it or figure out what's going on, right? But the idea is that the people that are resilient generally are pretty reflective and they analyze what's working and what's not. So I'm going to end with this. Resilience, I've said it 10 times, I'm going to say it again. Resilience is stress plus recovery equals resilience. Stress. How are you going to intentionally reframe your mind to understand that stress is the way the universe is making us better? It's making us sharper. It's the forge we're going through to be what we have to be. Recovery. What are your intentional plans to recover? Learn what really fills your cup. What really speaks to you? What really, at the end of that, you just feel like, man, my battery just got filled. Schedule it and be true to that schedule the way you would if you had a critical appointment with somebody else. Absolutely critical. Again, what I'm going to say there, and I said it before, I mean it so you make time for health, fitness, and recovery now, or you're going to make time for sickness, physical limitations, and exhaustion later. And finally, self-compassion. Give yourself a friggin' break, man. This is a hard world. There are difficult things going on. You're doing your best. Keep it up. Keep it up. Everyone, thank you all for your time today. We're the Impact Group. We provide strategic planning. We do strategic communications for all kind of folks, and we also do culture building. So if there's anything you need in strategic planning, communications, or culture building, we would be honored to partner with you. And you can reach out to myself. It's Tom Speaks, T Speaks at igpr.com, T Speaks at igpr.com, or you can always check us out at igpr.com. That's our website, igpr.com. Everybody, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day and go get them.